My name is David Koinange, and I'm part of a new generation, second generation of growing tea here. Here in this area, for the first time, our riverbeds are dried up. This is happening all over the place, and Limuru is no different. Also, for a second generation, what was working before purely by electricity isn't working anymore for many of the major industries, and this includes tea. The cost of producing with electricity is prohibitive. We are greening the industry because the chemicals are somehow harmful to our environment. We need to take the initiative and try and conserve our environment.
The tea sector and more broadly agricultural production in Kenya and Africa is at a crossroads. Conserving forests, reducing the pressure on natural forests is key to control water flows at a landscape scale, make the country more drought resilient as a whole, keep flows in rivers. The tea sector plays a huge role in the maintenance of the water towers, as they call them.
Naitwa Lydia Mambo, mimi ni mkulima wa majani chai huku eneo la Murang'a County. Shamba langu ni eka 2.5. Nimerithi kutoka kwa wazazi wangu. Hata nikizaliwa mimi nilipata majani ikiwa imeoteshwa. Kitambo majani ilikuwa inatoka kwa wingi sana. Majani ilikuwa mingi kwa sababu hali ya hewa ilikuwa nzuri kabisa. Kama sasa hivi vile hali ya anga iko, majani chai haitoki vizuri. Kama kitambo ungepata mtu mmoja hata anachuna kilo 50 kwa siku. Kwa saa hii climate change imeleta shida kabisa. Jua linakuwa kali sana na ule mmea hautaki jua mingi. Wakati huu sijui ama ni ile fertilizer tunatumia haina nguvu ama ni nini, kwa sababu kitambo ungekuwa unaweka tu fertilizer peke yake, na leo hii inabidi uweke manure, samadi ya ng'ombe na uongeze fertilizer.
From an economic point of view, there's not only the energy but also insulating and future-proofing the crop production from shocks in fertilizer costs. Energy is one of the highest in the world, even if you look at an industrial consumer like a tea factory, it hurts them badly on the global market. Offering them affordable, more reliable electricity is one. Also, displacing fuel wood is needed now, not in 10 years.
So my name is Paul Willisey and I'm CEO of the company called Compact Syngas Solutions, otherwise known as CSS, which is a gasification company that is running on biomass to produce heat and power, and also hydrogen and liquid fuels. It's self-sustaining in the sense that it's like smoking a pipe. As long as once it's ignited and you keep feeding it with biomass, or in tobacco in that case, and you keep sucking on that, it then produces a gas. And as long as you don't give it too much oxygen, it doesn't burn. So what you want it to do is to smoulder, release the gas, and then the gas is drawn away from the feedstock before it burns. That then happens at kind of 850 degrees. We produce syngas at quite a high temperature as well. It comes off the process at around 550 degrees. And then to make that gas suitable for whatever application you want to use, whether it's to go to an engine or to a boiler or to produce liquid fuels or hydrogen in some of the cases we're doing now, that then has to be cooled right down to 25 degrees. So what's often quite difficult when you produce power from syngas via an engine is you do generate a lot of heat, and to make it the most efficient utilisation of the waste or the biomass, to get the highest efficiency, you want to make sure you can do something with that heat. So when you find an application that uses it for drying, it's absolutely perfect, because you can get your efficiency right up into the 75%, which is absolutely fantastic really. And if you can find that application, then you're onto a winner. We recognise that renewable energy can't all be wind and solar, because it's not always windy and the sun is not always shining. So the beauty of having a gasification process, it can run 24 hours a day. So we're able to use locally sourced feedstock. It doesn't have to come from miles and miles away. It can be brought to a central place, and then the power can be distributed locally. So you can either take the solution to where the fuel is, or you can put the solution where the power requirement is. So you have lots of flexibility, and that's what we want to do.
One of the many benefits of the system is that it retains part of the biomass as biochar, which is a highly valuable soil amendment, which has actually brought me here because I've done agronomic research on it, and farmers continue to ask me, how do we produce more biochar? Through valorizing the residues for electricity and heat, and returning that biochar to the same plot where the residues were removed from, because that's our closed loop model. The soil will be improved for even up to a point where we are not here anymore. So the legacy effect of biochar in soil is critical on soil fertility, water retention, nutrient exchange, improving any input you make, but also in the carbon sequestration. Making tea farms, but in general crop production systems, a carbon sink, because it's a mighty tool in our basket of climate solutions, but it needs our hands, it needs our help. Nature itself will not do it by its own.
Tea requires a lot of electricity and even more heat. If we can crack this in the tea sector, we've got scale. You know, we've got 120, 140 tea factories in Kenya, in East Africa, and then the rest of the continent. So we started carving a story specifically around tea. Of course, tea farming and processing are not homogeneous across Kenya, but we started understanding how different ecosystems, if you like, within the bigger ecosystem worked. We also had a lot of cooperation from tea farmers, including, for example, David Koinange at Riara Tea Farm in Limuru. He wants change. The very fact that we had allies early on, or fairly early on, was incredibly helpful. Okay. So we have now a situation where we have hundreds of thousands of farmers across the country, many of whom may well be shareholders in their local factory. Often the shareholders will be of an older generation, although the younger generation is starting to take over. But not all farmers and not all shareholders are the same. One of the things we've picked up quite quickly.
The work that has been done is based on a lot of relevant expertise and actually on the ground activity. But I think the most important thing is hearing the testimony of farmers who have actually already experienced this activity. I think one that was impressive for me was the fact that fertilizer use has gone down. So I'm kind of excited about it because of the work that has already gone into it. I think there is a reasonable extent for the proof of concept.
We sent batches in total 14 tons.
So my name's Karen Taylor and I'm a project director for Compact Syngas Solutions. Our technology that we created with the gasification, there's a whole pipeline, there's a whole value chain, there's a whole supply chain of things and people that need to be incorporated in it, and I think that makes it quite complicated, but also quite rewarding if you can fulfill the needs of everybody that's in the sort of supply or value chain. On some of the plantations, it's great to see they've got hydro in, they've got biogas and solar as well, but there's a limitation to how much energy, the power they can get from those technologies, intermittent, and so they still suffer from power outages, etc. So with the gasification technology, you know, it can be ran 24/7. The consortium of skills that we have within this project is what's going to make it a success, and actually where Kenya is in its sort of technology journey, or energy journey should I say. I think our technology is right for the market now.
You know, we're coming to the end of this project, or this feasibility, and this is kind of the end of chapter 1, and we're just about to start chapter 2, which you know, an in-country demonstration facility which everybody wants to see and everybody wants to touch and feel and see these. Seeing is believing, and you can show videos, you can show statistics and graphs and all these things, but ultimately people want to see it running, and that's what we want to do next.
You've seen some results.
I've seen production of my tea go up in the first year after application. Although there is some negativity, some doubt within the farmers themselves, once they see what the statistics look like and what we have by ourselves as a farm been able to prove in terms of productivity and increased productivity, then we will have a lot more excitement which can be brought about by these projects.
The portions where we applied biochar had given very high volume in terms of the calculated area. The difference of kgs was coming to more than 20%. A place where I had applied biochar is having almost 85 kgs and the rest is having 65. In the dry season, especially in January, those spaces where we had applied biochar was still producing tea because there was constant maintenance of moisture in the soil. The shoots germinating in the region where the biochar is applied, they are of high quality, they are soft. And the way the leaves are soft, it is the way they are producing the high quality tea. You can pluck thrice where you are supposed to pluck twice.
In the beginning there was hesitance, skepticism, but within a short period of time, over 1 year, we actually demonstrate that well-directed research, innovation, partnerships can generate data.
I think now where we've reached, we have qualified biomass. So we know that all the different types of feedstock that we trialed, tea prunings, maize shanks, bamboo and chipped eucalyptus, we know that they all work.
Tea prunings are not always going to be available. They're not all year round. They're not always going to be available. So to be able to switch feedstocks from one thing to another gives us a lot of strength.
By working with Professor Muna Singhe from Sri Lanka and his team, we accessed information, know-how from tea sectors elsewhere. So it is an expert, independent review and evaluation of the potential for gasification energy to replace fuel wood, replace diesel generators, as well as for biochar to wane off the reliance and sometimes under or overutilization of fertilizer, so that you can get rid of deleterious emissions both in the manufacturing of fertilizers as well as their use.
The feedback we're now starting to get from people is you've ticked these boxes, now we want to start looking at bringing equipment into the country.
And now there's a loud call for a first mover in factory demonstration, which was clearly voiced during our workshop. With tea factory representatives, farmers who have been with us in the testing of biochar. So yes, the appetite of the market is large. They are now coming to us, knocking on our doors and telling us up front, like, listen, we need to find the financing.
We are starting to get early commercial interest from tea factories. So perhaps one thing we need to look at is how much skin in the game should the tea factories be putting in even at this stage.
There are opportunities for actually getting a lot of carbon credits out of this. And maybe there are other revenue streams from different carbon streams again. That need to be considered.
Some of the technology that we're working at the moment is about carbon capture, and so the ability to then capture the carbon from the process makes it obviously a lot more low carbon, and that itself can be a traded commodity, and so therefore that supports the drive towards net zero.
Once you have tangible evidence of the biochar, the out byproduct working, it now begins to create interest now for the bigger system.
With that in mind, I think it's an opportunity for the factories to actually take, acquire the technology themselves, because then they are not leaving that revenue on the table for somebody else.
When we began, a lot of these things were in presentations. Now we have videos, we have individuals who've experienced this and are able to testify that indeed this technology works and can work in a setting, especially in the tea industry in Kenya.
So far I've had many people, my neighbors, who want the project to be tried on their farm. So at the moment it's a trial. When it succeeds, we are sure that a lot of people will be very happy, because fertilizers very expensive at the moment, and anything that is going to help us to reduce the cost of production of tea is going to be very welcome.